Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which glorifies Ramachandra. The actual whole chapter is, I think there's 2 chapters dedicated to Lord Ram in the 9th canto. So I wanted to welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Happy Ram Navmi today to everybody, and wanted to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can remember this incredible incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can chant this verse. Parashuram Charitam Shravane Upadarayan Anram Samya Parodrajan Karma Bandhe Muchyate.
O King Parikshit, anyone who orally receives the narrations concerning the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes will ultimately be freed from the disease of envy and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities.
Yeah, so it's always very good to remember these glorious pastimes of Lord Ram. And then there's another verse in chapter 10. So we can recite this as well.
Tasyapi Bhagavan Isha Shakshad Brahmamayo Hari Amsam Sena Chaturdaga Putratvam Pratitita Sure Rama Lakshman Bharata Shatrugana Iti Samyanya. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared with his expansion and expansions of the expansion. The holy names were Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughan. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Dashrath.
And it's very interesting how later on we'll see, we'll see that a bit later on, exactly whose incarnations are they. And Srila Prabhupada details this out in the 2nd canto. So who is Ramachandra? The one and the same as Krishna himself. And who is Lakshman? He's one and the same as Balarama. Ramachandra is the 7th of the 10 avatars of Krishna. He is known as Maryada Purushottam. And Krishna is regarded to have all of the kalashas in full. His kalas in full. Ramachandra has 14. So of the 16, Ramachandra has 14. And he intentionally hid 2 of the kalasas because Ravana had to be killed by a human being, not a god, not an incarnation. So these 2 were not present. Paripurna, complete knowledge of all forms of awakening, and Swarupa Vastita, established in the real true, in his real true self. So he hid those in order to be regarded as a human being, effectively. Of course, he's never a human being. He's always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in order to fulfill the promise that Lord Shiva had given to Ravana, he manifested this pastime. So why is Rama Lila there? He appears to reclaim us. He's our original father, and he's missing us because we have gone away from him. And he performs these wonderful pastimes so that we can see his sweetness and fall in love with him. And especially the characteristics of Ram and Krishna. There's so much amazing pastimes they perform, showing their sweetness. We can fall in love with them very easily. So at that time, the earth was overburdened by demoniac kings, such as Ravana. Ramachandra appeared at the end of Treta Yuga in a dynasty of Suryavams with the other 3 expansions. So we'll have a look at those expansions in a little while. On the 9th day of Chaitra, today, Ram Navmi. And he came in the family of Maharaj Dashrath. He had many wives, actually, said, but 3 principal ones, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra, very famous. He didn't have any children, so he consulted with his priests and they performed a yajna, the purpose of which to was to get a heir for the throne. And a personality appeared from the yajna, a divine person, and gave a pot of kheer or sweet rice to Dashrath and asked him to give it to his wives in order to have children. So the king distributed the sweet rice to his 3 wives. He gave half of the sweet rice to Kaushalya, half to Kaikeyi. So he gave it to 2 wives, but those 2 wives in turn gave half their shares to Sumitra. There's a little different pastime on this, but in essence, this is what's happened. So then Ramachandra appeared to Kaushalya, the eldest and most senior queen. And this is a little idea of his appearance. He's very, very beautiful. A greenish color with a tinge of gold, and this extraordinarily beautiful personality of Godhead. Bharat, he appeared to Kaikeyi. And then we had the twins who came to Sumitra, Lakshman and Shatrughan. And who are they incarnations of? So this is detailed by Srila Prabhupada in the 2nd canto. I can't remember the chapter now. But from the incarnation of Vasudev came the expansion of Ramachandra. From Shankarashan, Lakshman appeared. From Pradyumna, expanded Bharat. And from Anirudh, expanded Shatrughna. So this is quite interesting. So from this first Chaturvyu come the from the first Chaturvyu come the 4 brothers, and they're all Vishnu Tattva. They're all supreme personalities of Godhead. One Godhead, many forms, many expansions. So this can be a little bit confusing, but there's only one God. Sri Krishna expands himself. First is Balaram, then the first Chaturvyu, and then we have Narayan, then the second Chaturvyu, and then we have the 3 Vishnus. So these are all considered to be supreme Vishnu Tattva. One God, many different forms. Lakshman was very attached to Ram, and Shatrughan was very attached to Bharat. And Bharat, in turn, was very attached to Ram, as was Ram attached to Bharat. Later, Ramachandra was united with his eternal consort, Mother Sita. So Sita, his eternal consort, also appears to Janakaraj, and later on they were together again. So what are Ram's qualities? Unlimited qualities. He appeared as the ideal son, brother, husband, king, man. Often we say Ram Rajya. Guru Maharaj was very strong on this, how Lord Ram's character and personality was so perfect. He had all of the different idealisms within him. So he would always recommend that if one is expecting a child, then the Mataji should read Ramayana, because that's how one can become the ideal person. He was the emblem of purity and marital devotion. His teachings illustrate above all the importance and rewards of fulfilling one's pious duty or dharma. So he was all about doing dharma, doing according to the rule book, playing by the rules. His name is extraordinarily powerful. I won't go through these examples because we wanted to talk a little bit about his pastimes because it's Ram Navmi. But his name is extraordinarily powerful, even more powerful than the Lord himself. And this is sometimes a little hard to understand. How can the name of God be more powerful than the Lord himself? God and his name are non-different. So when we say God, say Ram, we actually invoking the mercy of Lord Ram directly. In this material world, if we're thirsty, we can't say water, 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 and our thirst gets quenched, because the name and the object are separate. But in the spiritual world, it's different. the name and the object are the same. So when we say Ram's name, we're actually associating directly, one-on-one, with the Supreme Lord, Ramachandra. I won't go into this either, because this is a little bit technical. Oh yeah, this is quite good. When we chant the Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu, one of the verses in that Vishnu Sahasranam, spoken by Lord Shiva to Parvati. I can't remember the verse. I think.
Can I say, Prabhuji?
Yes,
Yes,
please,
go on.
please. Good.
Shri Ram Ram Rame Tirame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Rama Nama Varanane. 1,000 of name of Vishnu equal to one name of Ram.
Very.
Thank you.
Because she said to Lord Shiva, that this takes a little time, doesn't it? Is there anything easier?
That Parvati is saying that is too much. My children will not be able to remember and say that. So Lord Shiva said, okay, just to facilitate your children to remember the Lord, let me just put it in one sentence.
One name.
Yeah, one name.
Ram. And 3 names of Ram are equal to 1 name of Krishna. So it shows the power of the name of Krishna. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Next one. This shows a little bit of the pastimes of Ram. From Ayodhya, how they went into the forest to Prayag, and then Chitrakoot. They stayed in Chitrakoot for some time. And then they had to leave, and they went to Panchavati. They stayed in Panchavati quite some time as well. And that's from where Sita was kidnapped. And then they went to the south, and Rameshwar, and then Sri Lanka. So what do the 4 avatars represent? Ramachandra, Ram actually means one who is full of pleasure, happiness, by being in touch with chanting his name. So when we chant Ram's name, we should be very happy. Lakshman represents to tap into that happiness through unalloyed service to the Lord, by doing devotional service, no strings attached. We don't have any conditions. My Lord, I'll pray to you today. Give me £1,000 tomorrow. Yes, Rianj.
Prabhuji, I know the meanings of Ramchandra, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrugna.
Go on then.
Prabhuji, Bharata represents that he loads the burden on his back, tolerance, and Shatrugna represents
Shatrugna represents serving the Lord. Serving the devotee is better than serving even the Lord.
But his name actually, Shatru, is enemy, so it means destroying the enemies.
He's the conqueror of enemies.
And biggest enemy is false ego. So he destroyed his false ego. And you're right, Bharat.
Prabhuji, I heard that means Bharata loads the tolerance on his back. He loaded the food, the part of Lord Rama also. I'm remembering that.
Good. Well done, Rianj. Good lad.
And Lakshman also means is filled with Lakshmi. And what is Lakshmi? Or is wealth?
Yes, he
wealth
was
is Ram Bhakti.
He's
That
very
is the
wealthy,
real wealth.
I think the main.
Can I say something, Prabhuji, about the 4 brothers? Yeah?
Yeah, go on.
It will take me a few minutes though.
What is it about?
The name of the 4 brothers, what the meanings are.
Oh, you know that then. So hang on, let's do that at the end, because then we can tape it and give it to Shatrughan.
In South Africa.
Okay, no, I don't know what Guru Maharaj said, but
that's
what
fine.
I know. Okay, thank you.
So the 4 brothers, they were very affectionately treated at home, of course, because they were so loving towards their father and mother, and they were always dotting around them. They, of course, had to go to Gurukul, and that was a big shock for the parents when they were sent to Gurukul. And in Gurukul, they were taught by Vashishta And the main things they were taught was about Matri Deva Bhava, Pitri Deva Bhava, Acharya Deva Bhava, Atithi Deva Bhava. This was ingrained into them, and Guru Maharaj would ingrain it into us. Respect your mother, father, your teacher, and your guests, unwelcome guests or uninvited guests. And throughout their lives, they lived by those principles. That's why they were so successful. Of course, they're supreme personalities of Godhead, but nonetheless, they lived by these niyams, these rules. And then when they returned back home, Vishwamitra came one time, and Maharaj Dashrath welcomed him very nicely. And he said, my kingdom is yours. You can have anything you want. And Vishwamitra said, okay, I'll have Ram. I want Ram. Why do you want Ram? I want him to come to the forest in order to protect the sages from the demons. Dashrath was shocked. He's only 11. How can I send him? I can come with you, with my whole army, and protect you from the demons. Vishwamitra became angry. No, I want Ram. And he was about to leave, cursing the king, but Vashisht saved the day. Vashisht pleaded with the king and said, no, don't worry. Vishwamitra is more powerful. I know he's more powerful than anybody. Let Ram and Lakshman go with them. They will learn a lot from Vishwamitra. So he did, they went with him, and they spent their time learning lots from Vishwamitra. Of course, Vishwamitra knew this is no different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both of them. But he treated them just like his children, like his disciples, and very affectionately. And this Ram and Lakshman, they came for what, they did what they came for, which was to protect the sages, the devotees, by destroying the demons. And then there were some really extraordinary pastimes that took place when Vishwamitra and Ram and Lakshman were together. One time they touched a stone, the stone turned into Ahalya, who had been cursed by her husband Gautam because she'd accidentally had broken the rules with Indra. It wasn't even her fault, but Gautam's curse was a blessing because she had the beautiful darshan of Ramachandra, and she attained her original body and went back to the heavenly planets. And then there was Vishwamitra took them to Mithila, that's right, Janakaraji's palace, and there was a phenomenal bow, which one time Sita played with. Thousands of people could not lift this bow. They had to have so many thousands lifting their bow, and they would get very tired after a few minutes. But Sita could easily lift the bow, even when she was a little child. So Janak was always in distress. Who's going to marry my daughter? Who's going to be so strong that they can marry her? So his test that he'd laid down was, the prince should be able to lift the bow. So many princes came. They were unsuccessful until Ram came. And when he came, he strung the bow, but he broke the bow. He strung the arrow on the bow, but he broke the bow. This was a very special bow, Lord Shiva's bow. So it was given as a gift to Janakaraj by Parashuram, but now he'd broken it. And Sita was there waiting for the garland, and there was a unity of Lakshmi Narayan, or Sita and Ram. And of course, the other three brothers were also married. Lakshman married Sita's sister Urmila, and Bharat Shatrughna married Sita's cousins Mandavi and Shrutakirti. It's a wonderful occasion. And of course, Parshuram, he heard the bow twang and crack, and he came running. Is there another crazy Kshatriya? Is there another crazy Kshatriya? And when he came, he saw Ram, and Ram looked at Parshuram, and immediately Parshuram realized, this is the original Ram, and this is my boss. So he calmed down. But this was quite an intense moment in the Ramayana. Everybody was so shocked. Everybody fainted except for a few. Ram, Lakshman, maybe a couple of sages did not faint because Parashuram was a very fiery personality. Anyway, moving swiftly on, Mantra was the maidservant of KK. And there was an announcement made in the palace. Dashrath became old a little bit and decided to make Ramachandra the next king because he saw fantastic saintly qualities in Ram, kingly qualities. But KK initially very happy because she regarded Ram as her son. She loved Ram even more than Bharat. But Mantra convinced KK that it was not a good idea for Ram to be the king because he would be against you, KK, and against your son. Anyway, KK was very powerful. She had a boon that was granted to her, 2 boons. One time she was she went to the battle with the king and saved his life. So he gave her 2 boons. Now she demanded those boons. There's a king, he's wondering what's going on here. It's a happy occasion. Ram's going to be king tomorrow. But his favorite wife was very upset. She demanded the 2 boons. First one, make my son the king. Bharat should be the king. No problem, if that's what you want. They're both good children. But the second boon she demanded was send Ram to the forest for 14 years. And that completely devastated the king. How can he be away from Ram? He couldn't even tolerate a few moments away from Ram, let alone 14 years. So he collapsed. She called for Ram and to come to the palace. And she told him, you have to go to the forest because my son is going to be the king. And I want you to go to the forest. Or the king wants you to go to the forest to fulfill his promise to me. And Ram saw Dashrath was so upset. And he said to KK, you didn't even have to tell my king, my father, to tell me. You could have told me yourself. I would have done exactly what you told me. I would have gone to the forest. I would obey your command. I have so much love for you and respect for you. So this was the glory of Ram. This is the sweetness of Ram, which you can fall in love with that. And of course, Sita wanted to go with Ram. Ram tried to persuade her, no, it's too dangerous. We're not even wearing shoes. Don't even know where we sleep or we'll eat. But she insisted, I'd rather be with you in the forest than without you in the palace. And the faithful Lakshman joined Ram and Sita. Of course, there's a lot more detail behind the pastime, but we're just going to do a quick overview. So they were exiled to the forest and they lived there very happily for quite a long time. Ramachandra, one of his desires was to be with nature, be in the forest. And of course, he had things to do in the forest, many people to save. And this was one of the most amazing pastimes. The boatman, he insisted, I'll take you across, no problem, but I have to wash your feet. Ram wouldn't allow anybody to wash his feet. But what was his name again? Kevat. He said, well, I know what you can do with your feet. You turned the stone into Ahalya, a daughter. I've already got one daughter. I don't want another one. See, I'm not letting you in my boat unless I wash your feet first. It's really phenomenal pastime, showing the mood and bhakti of this Kevat, absolutely amazing. So he got this opportunity to bathe the feet of Ram. And then this is a little pastime about Dashrath, how he was cursed to also feel same separation because he was instrumental, unfortunately, in killing this Shravan Kumar, the son of elderly parents. And he died. Bharat had to do the funeral rites. But Bharat, when he came back home, he wasn't there in the palace when all this happened. And everybody was looking at him with daggered eyes. They were thinking, Bharat, because of you, Ram is gone. You were behind all this conspiracy. But of course, he knew nothing. He was wondering, why is everybody so angry at him? Eventually, his mother told him that you are now the king. What? What happened to my father? He died. Oh, where was Ram? He was in the forest. What did he do wrong? Nothing. I sent him there. You did what? Yes, and now you're the king. She was so ecstatic, thinking that Bharat would also be happy. Bharat was absolutely furious. He wanted even to kill her. But he knew, the only thing that stopped him was knowing that Ram would have disapproved. So then they all went to the forest to ask Ramachandra, please come back. Even Kaikeyi realized she made a bad mistake. But of course, Ram was not going to come back. He'd made a promise to stay in the forest 14 years. He wasn't going to break that. And Bharat was very clear, if you don't come back, if you even 1 minute late, I don't want to rule. I will put your slippers on the kingdom, on the throne, and you will rule. And if you're 1 second late after your 14 years are up, I will kill myself. So much love between the brothers, so much ecstatic love. And then they were there 14 years in the forest. They had wonderful time until Supankar came, and the sister of Ravana, and they cut her nose off. Ravana then sent Marichi, the deer, to take Ram and Lakshman away from Sita, because Ravana was told, there's a beautiful woman that belongs to you with Ram. He was curious, so he sent Marichi. And eventually Ravana turned up disguised as a sage. Yes, Riyansh.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I want to tell that Bharata promised, he told to Rama that after you were 14 years, if you don't, then the 15th year there, first day, if you don't come to me, I will kill myself. He
Good,
promised
yes.
that also.
Good. So then Sita was left alone. Lakshman didn't want to. But Ram had run after the deer. And this Marichi was very powerful. He could mimic Ram's voice, which is what he was doing. And Sita was thinking Ram is in trouble. And she was shouting at Lakshman, go and help your brother. And she was saying some really crazy things. Now, this is one of the most amazing pastimes in Ramayana. Sita was pretty abusive towards Lakshman. But Lakshman, normally he would be quite angry. His mood, his temperament was like he was quite hot-headed, fiery. But when Sita was having a go at him, he did not erupt. He stayed calm. He realized Sita is upset because she is fearful for Ram. And he decided, I am not going to destroy our relationship over this matter. So I'm going to stay calm, even though she's saying some horrible things. So it's a really good lesson to learn. Sometimes, we have fights with others and sometimes destroy relationships. But here, this is an example of tolerance. Yeah. Anyway, he went. Before he went, he drew this circle of protection around Sita, Lakshmam Rekha. And then Ravana came disguised as he knew there was something protecting Sita. So he came as disguised as a sage, and he asked for food, and he started cursing Sita that if you don't come and give me the food, I will curse you and your husband to die. And of course, Sita didn't want any curses. She came, gave him the food, and he kidnapped her. But the thing that we have to understand is that nobody can touch the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, Sita. So what happened when she walked out of this Lakshmam Rekha, actually what happened was Agni Dev came and Agni Dev took Sita, the real Sita, to his palace and substituted the real Sita with Maya Sita. And this pastime was told by Lord Chaitanya to a Brahmin in South Bharat who was very upset that Ravana had touched Sita. Anyway, this is, I forget that joke. In the time when she was kidnapped, after she was kidnapped, Jatayu stopped. He fought with Ravana, and he managed to delay the kidnapping by 48 minutes. And that was very, really important. He realized that if Ravana kidnaps Sita now, that will not be good for Ram. So he delayed it. So the Murat had passed, and it was unfavorable for Ravana. In the meantime, though, he was severely wounded by Ravana. He knew he wouldn't win, but he gave his whole life to Ram in 48 minutes. What a glorious way to go. And then Ram performed the funeral rites of Jatayu, just like he would have for his father, Dashrath. So this is a really touching picture. Wonderful pastimes took place. Sabri, one of the most glorious pastimes in Ramayana. How this wonderful devotee waited for Ram. Nobody believed her Ram is going to come. She believed her guru, one day Ram will come. And she never lost faith. And this is a really fantastic example. We sometimes lose faith in the Lord or on the devotee of the Lord, but we shouldn't, because the Lord keeps his promise. He keeps the promise of his devotees. So Ram came, and she would taste the little apples, the boars, and if they were sweet, she would give it to Ram to eat, and he would eat them because he was eating the love of his devotee. And Lakshman was a little surprised at this, but Ram explained to him, this lady is the most amazing devotee. Then, of course, the divine meeting of Hanuman with Ram and Lakshman. Glorious. Hanuman is regarded to be the greatest servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And often there are more Hanuman Bhaktas than Ram Bhaktas. Hanuman is such an amazing personality that people have a lot of faith in Hanuman. And because they have faith in Hanuman, automatically that faith is transferred to Ramachandra as well. So Hanuman met with them. He recognized Ram immediately. This is my Lord. And he surrendered unto the Lord immediately. And he took the Lord to see Sugrim, his king. And then there was this incredible fight with Vali, where Ramachandra did the unthinkable. He shot Vali in the back. And commentators over the years centuries, millennium, have argued with each other whether this was the right thing for the Lord to do. But of course, Vali himself, when he was on his deathbed, he accepted Ramachandra's conclusions about why he shot him in the back. And we haven't got time to go through it, but it's a very interesting pastime. And then, of course, there's lots and lots of different things that happened. But eventually Hanuman flew over into Sri Lanka. Oops, hang on a sec. Struggle with that. Just 1 second.
Go to the next slide.
Yeah. That's it. Okay. So then he finds Mother Sita eventually. He looks in the palaces. He doesn't see her in any of the palaces. He sees many ladies. None of them fit the description of Sita. Most of them were drunk with liquor. And he then started looking in the Ashoka garden, one of the main palaces, and he found Sita. Of course, the way he introduced himself was very, very unique. He knew he looked very strange and Sita would get very scared. So he did introduce himself in a way. He spoke the Ramayana. And then Sita was wondering, who is this? Another Maya that has come to persuade me to stay with Ravana. But eventually he, through his love for Ram and love for Sita, convinced Sita that he is the genuine article, he's a servant of Ram come to rescue her. And he even proposed that just get on my back and I'll take you back to Ram within a moment. But Sita said, no, I've never touched willingly another male. And if you rescue me now, then what will happen to the glory of my Lord's name? I am willing to tolerate few more days here. Go and bring Ram as fast as you can to defeat this crazy demon and let his name be glorified throughout the world. Sita was a great example, a great personality, amazing personality. And then Hanuman, he did these tricks and set Lanka to light. He knew that if he did anything really bad, Ram would get upset. But then they put his tail on fire. What to do? I'm a monkey, he said to himself. I jump around everywhere. He jumped around everywhere in Lanka, set the whole place in fire. He could say to Ram, it wasn't my fault. They set my tail on fire. What can I do? I'm a monkey. Anyway, they sent another ambassador later, Angad, to Ravan. And Angad said, okay, look, if you think Ram's army is weak, try to move my feet, even my toe. And they tried. They couldn't. So he said, I'm the weakest. I'm the smallest monkey, which he was. So then, anyway, Ram and the army, Lakshman, everybody came to Rameshwar. And there, the most extraordinary glorification of the devotee of Ram. Lord Shiva is a devotee. This pastime often confuses many people because they're thinking that Ram is praying to Shiva because they're thinking that Shiva is higher than Ram. But actually, it's not that case. It's not the case at all. It's the other way around. Shiva is actually a devotee of Ram. So why does Lord Ram pray to Shivling or Lord Shiva? Because Ravan was a devotee of Lord Shiva. And to follow the right etiquette, he prayed to Lord Shiva and he said to Lord Shiva, I am going to defeat your demon, your devotee. I want your permission. It's a matter of etiquette. And Lord Shiva said, of course, you don't need my permission. You're the supreme. But also, Ram wanted to glorify his devotee. And often this happens. It happened again in Krishna Lila, in the ocean, the churning of the milk ocean. We're just reading it in the Srimad Bhagavatam. How the Lord glorified Shiva by allowing him to drink that poison, or not drink it, but keep that poison in his neck. And hence why he's called Nilakant. This is to glorify his devotee. So they love each other, and this is a really phenomenal pastime. And then the ocean wouldn't come, so the Lord became a little angry with Samudra, and she immediately came. And then they started to make the bridge. And this is where the name of Ram is regarded to be more powerful than the Lord himself. We haven't got time to go through the pastime, but that's okay. They made this bridge of rocks and stones, and from outer space, they can see something between Lanka and India. I don't know how genuine that is. And these stones are still there, which float. And this one actually we put on the water well here, and it floated. And Vibhishan came. Vibhishan was the younger brother of Ravana. And everybody was thinking he's a spy, or he's come to play tricks on you. And Ram asked Hanuman, what do you think? Kill him. Sugriv, kill him. Ram said, no, anybody who surrenders unto me just once, I will give them shelter. Let him through. So Vibhishan was let through, and he surrendered to Ram. And he's such a great ally for Ram. And this is the army walking across into Lanka. And then there was a huge fight for 9 days, days and nights. They fought and they fought and they fought. And of course, the monkey army didn't have many great weapons, but because of the blessings of Ram, they killed all the demons. There's loads of pastimes of how Ram and Lakshman, they fainted or so-called died, but they were saved by various devotees and their wonderful pastimes that took place. And how Hanuman was so victorious in this battle. He, at one point, Lakshman was also, had died, and he brought the whole mountain of Sanjeevani to save him. This is the glory of Hanuman. And then finally they had a fight. Why the Lord comes to this world, he comes to fight sometimes. And he can't fight in the spiritual world, so he fights here with specially empowered devotees. So Ravana wasn't actually a demon, he was a devotee sent from Vaikuntha to fight with the Lord. Only a devotee can fight with the Lord. So Ravana fought with Ram, and it was a glorious fight. The Lord really enjoyed the fight. And eventually the Lord shot a magical arrow into the navel of Ravana and destroyed him. And then Sita was rescued. She had to go through the fire, which was another extraordinary pastime. And then they returned back to Ayodhya. This is the plain. And
Pushpak Viman Prabhuji.
Pushpa Vikman, yeah. And this is
Vibhishan. It was jewel encrusted on it.
very good. And
Even many monkey armies were fitted.
yeah, the whole
Even
monkey
it
army.
has many places.
That's right.
Even big dinosaurs can fit in it.
And then Ram surrendered himself to Kaushalya, Kaikai. He first went to Kaikai.
Why, Prabhuji?
Sorry?
Why?
Why?
Prabhuji?
Because he loves Kaikai. And he knew Kaikai is completely broken-hearted. And he wanted to relieve the heartache of Kaikai. This is the Lord. This is Ram. He's such a sweet person. The person who is the most aggrieved, he will go to them first. And he will give them comfort. And then there was found, sorry?
Prabhuji, in a previous picture, can you show once?
This one?
Yes, Prabhuji, there we can see. Oh, not Prabhuji, next
This one?
Ah, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Here we can see that the Bharata was holding sandals.
Ah, yeah. Good. Well spotted.
And he stayed in a village called Nandigram, I heard.
Nandigram, yeah, that's right. Just outside of you.
He told that when Rama comes from his exile, I will also come from his exile. Till he don't come to palace, I will also stay in the forest, he told.
And you know what time he used to have his bath? In the Sarayu. Do you know what time?
No, Prabhuji.
3:30 in the morning.
Oh,
2 o'clock. Sorry,
Prabhuji,
2
we
o'clock.
can't wake up at 3:30 morning.
Yes, you can.
And why he used to go so early? Because when the Ayodhya Vasis would see him, they would still be cursing him.
Throw stones.
They would be throwing stones at him because he's the reason Ram left. That's what they're thinking. So he would go and
Prabhuji, but because of the reason of Kaikai, then why they have to throw
But he used
stones
to,
on
that's why he
Bharata?
used to bathe early in the morning. Early in the morning, so nobody would disturb him. So then they were coronated king and queen. They ruled for a long period of time. And then eventually, many other things happened afterwards. But we haven't got time now. So that's the pastime in a nutshell of Lord Ramachandra. Ramachandra Bhagwan ki jai. So,
Prabhuji, I like
And
this
he ruled
picture.
for thousands of years.
yeah, thousands of years.
Prabhuji, I like this picture. All the time we got.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, Brahma, Shiva, Ganpati. Maybe we should.
I heard that Vibhishana was. I heard somewhere that Vibhishana was holding the umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when they came, yeah.
that's right.
And why is and Vasishta, the chief priest, told to all the monkeys to get the water from rivers and oceans,
Yeah, good, good.
so they can
Made him.
do Abhishek of Lord.
Yeah, good. Well done, Riyaj. Very good. Anybody else? Anything else you'd like to share? Apart from Indulekha, we can do the names in a minute.
Which I want to share one thing.
Go for it.
While they were going in Pushpaka Viman, they saw Bharadwaj Muni's hut, and Rama decided to meet Bharadwaj Muni. So he asked the Pushpaka Vimana to land near the heritage of Bharadwaj Muni, and he offered his obeisances to Bharadwaj Muni, and he means. He told to Bharadwaj Muni that make the ayodhya trees filled with heavenly fruits.
Wow.
Then
Where did you read that? Where did you read that?
in Veda-based 15 in Veda-based book Ramayana.
Okay.
Because I want the Ramayana book.
Good.
But
Well
I have
done.
Krishna Lila book.
Yeah. Good. Good. Preeti?
So
Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to add something to this that I heard from a devotee yesterday,
Sure.
which I found was really interesting. It was comparing something to something. So when they were making the Ram Setu, and we've heard about like the squirrel or the little spider that, you know, does their bits, adds the little stones or the little bit of sand grain, and they compared it to building a house. Like you need bricks, but then you also need the smaller stones for the cement and sand. So I just thought that was a really good comparison. So it's like everyone needs to, you know, whatever level you're at, it's needed for the bigger picture. So, you know, don't think what you're doing is too small, you just do it. Yeah.
Yes, very interesting. And then Ram stroked, didn't he, the squirrel, and that's why the squirrel has
In
this.
Bharat has that stripe
Yeah.
on the back.
yes, Prabhuji, I heard that story many times.
This is the beauty of Ramayan. You can hear it again and again, never get bored.
Prabhuji, Prabhuji, and Bharadwaj Muni know what is going in Ayodhya because his disciples were frequently they are visiting Ayodhya. So Bharadwaj Muni told that the people of Ayodhya were waiting for Lord Rama. They were waiting Lord Rama to come. So like that Bharadwaj Muni told, and they went to Ayodhya.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, let's finish there. Let me stop.
Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Means I created a small quiz.
Created a what?
Prabhuji, I prepared some questions from Raman story.
Ah, good. So let's see. Let's go to Indulekha first, and we can see what she'd like to share. Indulekha,